Alright, welcome to the channel. My name is Dan. Thank you for tuning in. This is Viking Designs. Okay, so today I'm going to give my thoughts on the BOSCH GKS18v68c. Yeah, I think that's it. Now, this is a 7 1/4 inch, also known as an 184mm circular saw. This is one of Bosch's latest offerings from their new BITURBO range. Now, they sent me out this saw to have a look at, and this is my review. I've got a first impressions video that I will link above, but yeah, this is my actual review. So I feel like I could give you guys some real insight into what it's like. This saw retails for 399 Australian dollars. It's not the most expensive, it's definitely not the cheapest. It sort of falls somewhere in the middle there. So this saw features a BITURBO motor. Now, what is BITURBO, I hear you ask? Great, very good question. I actually have no idea. It's like maybe like 2 turbos, or I'm not sure, but what it does mean is power. This thing has 1800 watts of power. That actually beats the majority of corded circular saws in your local hardware, so it's fairly impressive getting 1800 watts of power from a battery circular saw. That is giving you corded power on a cordless tool, and it is backwards compatible with any 18-volt Bosch battery. I think you could put a battery from like 2008 on this thing and it'll still go. Good luck finding a battery from 2008 that still works in any brand, but yeah, you can do it in theory. Now, you would want to pair this with their fast charger. The fast charger will charge an 8 amp hour battery to 50% in 15 minutes, and it'll get you to 80% in 26 minutes. With those type of charge times, you will never run out of power. Probably for, you know, your carpenters, your everyday carpenters, the guys that are framing houses, building decks, all that sort of stuff. These are the people that are going to want to use this saw. If you just wanted to know the specs of this saw, you could have just jumped on the Bosch website. I'm assuming you're here because you want to hear my personal experience with the saw, and you want feedback on how this saw performs in the real world. So here it is. These are my thoughts on the saw. Let's start with ergonomics. I mean, this is a massive thing. If you're using this saw for 8 hours a day, you want to make sure it feels good in the hand. And luckily, this thing does. Most Bosch tools do feel pretty good in the hand. They obviously do think about this when they're designing their tool. It has a nice big handle up front, the weight feels evenly distributed, and yeah, it's a really easy saw to use. Now, one reason I chose the Bosch ecosystem is the build quality. And here in Australia, it's backed by a 6-year warranty, which is a good bit of peace of mind when you're investing such large sums of money. The whole thing feels really solid in the hand. The base plate feels quite rigid. I know you can get some of those cheaper saws and the base plate has a lot of flex. I'm not feeling that here. This just feels like a really solid saw. Now, the base plate on this thing is massive. Like, I've got the DeWalt worm drive saw and the base plate is like small. Compared to this thing on the Bosch, it's like double the size. So when I was first using it, it did feel a little, I felt like I had an iPad strapped to the bottom of the saw. It was a little bizarre. But after about a week using it, I absolutely loved it. Base plate is giving a great reference on the timber, so you know that you're cutting square. You got a bigger surface area, so if that surface area is sitting on the timber, you know your cuts are going to be square. I mean, having this bigger base plate actually lends itself to more accurate cuts. I didn't really see that at first, but after using it for a bit and then going back to a smaller base plate, it definitely has that little bit more movement, whereas this thing is like, like just smack bang on the timber. You can feel that it's all level, you know. It's hard to explain, but once you have a bit of a go with it, you definitely understand what I'm talking about. The depth adjustment. Now, yeah, I don't know, the depth adjustment on this saw. In my first impressions video, I was super impressed with this depth adjustment, and I'm still fairly impressed with it. I love the fact that it's numbered and I can just, you know, I need to check out 45mm, set it to 45mm, and it's pretty damn accurate. I'm still a massive fan of that feature. I'm not a huge fan of how you tighten it up. It just feels a little bit loose to me. It doesn't feel like it locks properly. And I don't know, it feels just a little bit cheap. It feels like one of the cheapest parts of the saw, and it's a fairly important part. So yeah, like I said, I'm not a massive fan of the nut that's on there that you use to tighten it out. I mean, it's okay, it does the job fine, but I feel like it could have probably been made better. As for power, yeah, this thing has no lack of power. This thing beats out a lot of the corded saws that I've got my hands on. Putting it up against a Makita corded saw, I mean, the one that I've got is a cheaper one. However, this thing smashes it. Yeah, it just makes light work of some heavy duty jobs. So my likes and my dislikes. Let's run through them. Now, for my likes, the base plate I think is awesome. I like that it's oversized. Feels really, really solid when using it. Yeah, I'm gonna struggle going back to anything else, I think. The saw guide that comes with it is same as the base plate. It's massive. It's a really substantial sort of guide. It just makes ripping timber so easy. It's by far the best guide that I've ever used on any circular saw ever, hands down. It extends out enough that that you just have confidence that the blade is cutting parallel. So yeah, it's super nice. And yeah, the power, you know, I can't fault this saw on the power. It's an absolute beast of a thing.
Ooh, alright, I was working on this edit and realized I left a couple of things off my like list, so I figured I better throw them on. First thing I left off the list was the runtime. I don't know how I forgot about the runtime, but nevertheless, this thing paired with the 12 amp battery is literally lasting me all day. I get out of the car, grab the circular saw, whack the 12 amp battery in, and I'm doing cuts all day. At the end of the day, I've still got like 20 to 40% left on the battery. So that's pretty amazing right there. I've not had that experience before, so that's a big like right there. Now, the other thing that is really nice on this saw is the line of sight. Whether you're cutting something up above you or, you know, you're left-handed, right-handed, whatever, I've always felt like I can get a nice line of sight. I can see what I'm cutting. I can see where my line is. It's not something you think about with all saws, but it is super important to know where that line is and know where your blade is. It's also got some nice little indents on the base plate to show you where your blade is cutting. So yeah, that's a really nice feature too. All right, back to the edit.
Now to what I don't like so much about this saw. Yeah, that depth adjustment, it just feels a little flimsy on a $400 saw. I just want something a little more solid on that. In my first impressions video, I referred to this sticker that is on the base plate, has your measurements right up the top. I'm still not a massive fan of that. When you're cutting the saw on an angle, like if you're cutting at 45 degrees, all those numbers are etched into the base plate. I don't know why they couldn't do that on the base plate. For some reason, they just stuck a sticker on, and so far so good. Sticker has not come off, but yeah, I'm a little, I don't know, in 5 years, I just don't imagine it's gonna be there. Anyway, time will tell. And yeah, the last thing that I'm not a massive fan of is that it won't work on my BOSCH track. Now, this isn't really fair to throw in here because basically no circular saws made by any of the major brands have compatibility with a track. BOSCH are the only ones that do it, as far as I'm aware. And this model that I'm reviewing, it doesn't have that functionality. And I know that its bigger brother, The GC does have that functionality. So I definitely feel like I'm missing out there. Now, like I say, it's not really fair to throw that in the dislikes because no other comparable saw has that feature. And the only saw that does is the Bosch. It is the bigger brother. So, I mean, probably shouldn't count that one, but figured I'd throw it in. If you are already in the Bosch ecosystem, you already got a stack of batteries and you want a circular saw, yeah, look, this saw could definitely be for you. However, for that extra little bit of money, I think it's, I don't know, in between $70 and $100, you could get a saw with adjustable speed. You could get a saw that would run on a track and be the only circular saw out there that does it. I feel like it's a no-brainer. If you're a carpenter, if you're working with a lot of timber, and if you just want a bare bones saw that does what it needs to do, that is no frills, and it'll get the job done, plus you're on a little bit of a budget, this saw is an absolute beast. I don't think you're gonna get much better for the money, and if you're already in that Bosch ecosystem, it's definitely a no-brainer. However, me personally, I would 100% of the time get its bigger brother, the GC, with your variable speeds. However, the ability to run your circular saw on a track, for me, that's a game changer. That's, nobody else is doing that. And it makes so much sense. Like, why not? Why not put that little groove in the track so I can run my circular saw over it? Everyone wants to have straight, perfect cuts. And not everyone wants to pull the track saw out to make 1 or 2 cuts when they're on site. By having the GC, you eliminate the need for a circular saw and a track saw. I mean, you could just get away with just the GC that has the ability to work on a track. So personally for me, that is where my money would be going 100% of the time. That doesn't take anything away from this saw that I'm reviewing. I think this saw is a beast. I think if you're a carpenter, if you're doing a lot of framing, and if you don't feel like you need that capability, or if you already have a track saw and you're happy to pull that out whenever you need it, then yeah, this thing, it's a great addition. And if you're not heavily invested in any platform yet, you don't have any Makita, you don't have any DeWalt or Milwaukee tools, then yeah, I would definitely recommend jumping on the Bosch platform. Anyway guys, I hope this video has been somewhat helpful in providing you with some information and a little bit of insight. If you have any questions about this, just leave a little comment below and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. We are talking about the GKS18v68c. Rolls off the tongue. Alright, so